Hey guys, welcome to my channel. My name's Piéra and today let's talk about what makes a good villain. So think about your favorite villains, right? Think about why you like them so much and then think about why you should be liking your villains, because realistically at the end of the day you shouldn't be liking your villains, but you do. For reasons. And I'm not talking about the Darkling or Rhysand or any of those characters that end up like for some reason we all swoon towards because what's wrong with us? Daddy issues. Think about your villains, right? Your villains. Think about the Jackal. Think about Lysander. Think about Julius Scaver. Think about Bracky the Gate. Think about that pink bitch from Harry Potter. Think about the King of Hybern. Think about Queen Maeve. Think about the Night King. Think about Cersei Lannister. Think about villains. Genuinely terrible people. Think about them. Now let's talk about it. What makes a good villain? A good villain to me is someone you either empathize with and you can see why they're doing what they're doing, or someone you completely despise and wish nothing but terrible things upon. Those are your options. Now there's nothing that drives me more insane than when I like a villain. Almost as much as I like my protagonist. Like I want my protagonist to win. I want the good guys to live. I want all of my favorite characters to live and be happy and go on and live full lives. What I don't want is to get halfway through my, especially villain's point of view and go, God damn, I get it. I get why he's doing it and I hate it, but I get it. What I love are those villains that I'm like, you, sir, if I met in a dark alley would not survive, regardless that you are an ancient magical being much stronger than I am. I would find a way to overcome you with these guns. What you want is a clever villain. You want a smart villain. You want a witty villain. You want a charismatic villain. Think of villains that you don't know are villains. Like obviously you've got Voldemort, who everyone knows is a bad guy. He wants power. Think of the King of Hybern, pretty shoddy villain because he doesn't really do anything except, loom dramatically in the background until bam, he's there in undeniable power. Think about the Jackal, extreme daddy issues. Think about Lysander, extreme mummy issues. Think about your villains with a god complex. What do they all, for the most part, have in common? They're clever, they're driven, they're passionate about what they're after, and they will stop at nothing to get what they want, regardless of the consequence, whether that is loss of lives, whether that is destruction of a planet, whether that is the loss of their loved ones. These people are so narrow-minded that it's a rare villain that thinks outside, like the long game. They're very much, here's A, here's B, I need to get there. Very few villains that, unless you go like deep, very few villains are all-encompassing. And of course, this is coming from a fantasy point of view. These are all fantasy-related things. If you're here for YA or romance or crime or horror, this is not the place for you. We are a primarily fantasy sci-fi channel. What you want is your villain to have a solid reason for doing what they're doing. This day and age, as I get older, I care less about, ooh, I just want power, or ooh, I just want to rule someone. Like, cool, that's good for you. Give me someone with really deep-seated issues that seems like at the end of the day, they just want one thing that just has happened to get bigger. What am I thinking of? For example, the Jackal. The Jackal from Red Rising by Pierce Brown is one of my favorite villains because he's so despicable, but yet so charming, and it's mind-blowing to me. The Jackal. Essentially, his whole drama stems from very deep-seated daddy issues. So Jackal's daddy didn't love him. He didn't love him. I mean, to be fair, he got a shitty dad. So all he ever wanted was to impress his father. He wanted his father's acceptance, his father's respect. And he'll do anything to get it, which in his case means cannibalism, murder, torture, and just straight up genocide. But he's a clever boy. The way he does it is not what you'd expect. Obviously, if you've read the Red Rising saga, you know, you're well aware of who the Jackal is and what he's done. Fuck that guy. In the beginning, he never set out to have complete power. He never set out to conquer the world. He set out to get his dad's approval. And that just happened to be floundered when Darrow rocked up out of nowhere from the dust and Daddy's like, ooh, I like that one more. And his own flesh and blood was like, this is a problem I need to now remove. And there's a beautiful line in one of the books that is that Darrow became the Jackal's obsession, because Darrow was essentially everything the Jackal's father wanted in a son and the Jackal couldn't be that. So in his mind, Target needed to be eliminated. Brilliant, brilliant piece of work. Kind of empathized with him when you saw how bad his dad was and how bad his family relationships were and how poorly everyone else thought of him no matter how hard he tried. And then I find myself empathizing with the Jackal and I question my sanity. This stems to my second. Pierce Brown writes very good villains. Like, just straight up very good villains. Lysander Alloon, mostly in the later books. This is just a deep-seated hatred. Lysander is a little bit different. Lysander, you get his POV. So you get inside Lysander's brain, which is an interesting ballsy move. When I think back to all of my other favorite books, you don't really get to see the villain from their point of view unless it's extra content. Like, you don't see the Darkling's point of view. You don't see Julius Scaber's point of view. You don't see Maeve's point of view. You very rarely see the villain's point of view. And so by letting us inside Lysander's head, I think it was a very brilliant move because I hate him, but I completely understand where he's coming from. And to be fair, I think it takes a special kind of person, some sort of evolved brain, which realistically isn't me, to be able to empathize with someone that you hate. Because I think, again, a beautiful quote is, you can't hate someone once you know them. Like, it's impossible to hate someone once you know why they do what they do. Even if you don't agree with it, it's once you understand how people work, it's very hard to just straight up, no, I hate them. It's more of a, I hate it, but I understand why. Which, mind you, self-awareness, terrible game. But so Lysander, you begin to understand why he's doing the things he's doing, even if they are detrimental to all of your favorite characters. As I mentioned in my What Makes a Good Protagonist video, which I will link above, what generally tends to make a good villain is they remind you of the protagonist, just flipped the switch. You've got your protagonist fighting for good, but you've got your antagonist fighting for bad, which is literally the definition of it all. But they still have very similar, they might be fighting to protect someone they love, or they genuinely think they're doing the right thing. They genuinely think whatever they are doing to achieve their goal is the right thing. Even if it is loss of lives, even if it is complete devastation, that's a price they're willing to pay to get to the end result. For example, Kuvira in Legend of Korra. She thought in her mind, getting the Earth Kingdom back together after its devastation involved a very tight tyrannical rule. In season 3 of Legend of Korra, you've got Zahir, arguably one of the most powerful villains, which I have problems with. The Avatar in general, that's my only sort of problem. For a very powerful protagonist with like literally unlimited power, for a guy who's just learned airbending in like essentially a month to kick your ass, I just don't know. But anyway, Zahir as a villain, because he is so set in what he believes, and I mean his is largely steeped in spirituality and religion, and that I am the savior of my people, I am the voice of gods essentially. Someone's conviction is something that is very hard to shake, but there is also nothing louder than a man beginning to doubt their faith. So it's really interesting when you see the cracks in your villain, like from Lysander's point of view, when you see him question, am I doing the right thing, and then whatever it being the reason that kind of keeps him on his path. And in my opinion, that's what makes a good villain. Good villain is always a weird sentence in itself, but there are some, like, when you think about your favorite villains, think about why people love Severus Snape so much, why people love or hate Lysander, why people love or hate Tamlin, for example. I don't know why he's in there, because Sarah J. Maas did really everything she possibly could to make us hate him. But in the end, with that final book, we're like, oh, yeah, okay, fair. But does that excuse his actions? No. Let me know what you think makes a great villain. Let me know who your favorite villains are in the comments down below. As I said, I've got a video to what makes a good protagonist floating around. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I will see you next time. Bye.